Under unfinished business, Ms. Willow, you made a motion, and I would like to bring that back to the table. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, okay, so in the last school board meeting, that was in June, I made a motion regarding the salaries of the teacher assistants or instructional assistants. And now I amended the motion after looking at the budget and having that personnel meeting. And I'd like to amend my motion to the following. So I'd like to make a motion to have the board look at the salary scales and work towards increasing the salaries of all categories of our non-certificated personnel, including to give a raise of approximately 10% to instructional assistants in the next budget year. I heard a lot of concern from specifically the teaching assistants that they're struggling with this salary, and I think we should do something to try to raise the salaries of our personnel that are paid smaller amounts that we all agree. I think we all agree that we should do something to raise the salaries.
But you're specifying, well, wait, the motion's on the table. We need a second.
I don't know if I quite understand the motion. The motion is just to review it before next year?
It's up to you, to look at.
Yeah, so the motion is one, to review the salary scales of the certain categories of personnel. So that wouldn't be the teachers, obviously, because that salary increase is being looked at already, including from the state. So that would be the teacher aides, that would be, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be the data clerks and certain other personnel. Those categories of personnel tend to get lower salaries at the market level. So while the teacher salaries are pretty much holding up with like the national level, I guess, our teaching aides, even though they are making comparable salaries to other counties around us, some other counties around us, they're still making, like, I believe it was said, $14,500 a year. Was that the amount? Am I correct? Yeah, something like that.
It would depend on where they're at on the salary scale, how many years they've had.
But, well, their salary scale is still, as we agreed, I think, is pretty low. So I think those categories of personnel, we should at least take a look at how we can regularly raise their salaries. And the teaching aides, I guess, they're just very behind.
So you're just saying to review, is there no?
Review and the teaching aides to give them a raise next budget year of 10%.
So the motion is, just so I'm clear, the motion is to review it and to commit to 10%.
I would recommend splitting it into two motions. That way, it would just be an easier way to vote, if that's okay.
Okay, that works for me.
Yeah.
Well, I just think if it's not for next budget year, it's a bit of a mini motion, because we're going to review it anyway as part of the budget process.
We've already put that in place.
So,
instructed him to do that. Okay.
and as far as, sorry.
So if that is, okay, maybe I'm just a little bit not understanding. So if we're going to review, then maybe we should commit to trying to raise, not just review, but trying to raise those salaries.
That's the intent on the
Review it forward.
What I would say right now is that, because y'all had a motion on the floor, we just need to be clear about what the motion is. If the motion's been withdrawn, just to clear it up, it sounds like, and I'm not trying to get involved in policy, but it sounds like everybody's in agreement that, what I call that is classified employees, so non-certified, so classified employees. So classified employee pay is going to be reviewed. It sounds like that's already been decided. So then the other question back to the board member is, do you want to make the motion as to basically committing the board to that salary increase?
To that
Teacher assistants, yes.
Okay, so that is the motion. The motion before the board then, just to confirm I'm right, is a motion to commit for the 2024-2025 school year an increase of at least 10% for teacher assistants. Is
That's correct.
Is that fair? So that's the motion for the board.
That's the motion. Do we have a second? There's no second, the motion fails.
No, you can't do that. To me, the 10% is just, you don't know what the budget's gonna look like.
Well, that's, okay.
But that's just
I
discussion.
understand.
Yeah, I want to, but you don't know that 10% is what we can
Yeah,
do.
I want to see fiscally where we are next year. And I think
Uh,
all of us know that that is an area that we need to look at and review and see what we can do for those people, because they're a huge part of our system. They help our teachers and assist in our, educating our
Well, I
students.
think we have to see dollars instead of percentages. Yeah, I don't think we could ever say.
Yeah, and also I just want to mention why teacher assistants is they work directly with the students. So I feel that we should be taking a look at them as one of the first.
Oh, yeah, there's no issue in that. Just the 10% is what's.
And I want to applaud you for bringing it,
Yeah.
for bringing it back to the board. Your dedication to our employees is thankless, of course. And getting money for raises is problematic. Because if you do for one group, you got other groups that you have to consider, and this board definitely is considering that. So we want to move forward by looking at all salary scales and see where we're at across the board, and that's certified and non-certified personnel.
You are working on that.
That's correct, yeah, I would like to add that I was very clear coming out of the personnel committee meeting and then the special call, and the budget process meetings we've held up to this point, that the board desired a wide range survey across all salary groups, all employee groups, for comparisons with our regional school systems. I would like to state that it is problematic when we call out one employee group for a targeted increase before we even know what the funding and the TISA model looks like going into year 2. We were given a lot of different projections for TISA year 1. What I would remind the board is that our first TISA projection was drastically different than our actuals. We still saw an increase. We were a beneficiary, rural school system in TISA, but not everybody can state that. It doesn't take much to affect based on how TISA is funded, how it designates funding for us with the ULNs, unique learning needs, the CTE numbers, our socioeconomic groups. It doesn't take much change in any one of those to drastically affect how we're funded now. Do I think it's better than BEP? Yes. Are we winners in TISA versus BEP? Absolutely. However, if we specifically target one group, you're going to have other groups come in and say, I want my name added to that. And if I was one of them, I would do the same thing. I'd be knocking on the director's door the next day if you guys took an action like that and say, I noticed last night you took an action for targeting instructional assistants. I'm part of the custodial crew. I would like to be considered for that too. It just becomes very problematic if it's not done the right way. I think what you have done in structuring your directions to me last month was very appropriate, and that is to state that you want an accurate and updated survey done of the regional school systems around us for all employee groups and total compensation. We talked about salaries, but we also talked about health and welfare, and we maintain a very healthy approach to health and welfare at the percentage we pay versus the employee if they take our benefits. So I think that we need to look at that. Affordability came up. We are projecting $2.1 million deficit spending going into 23-24. If we were to earmark a 10% gain for one employee group as early as right now, when we don't even have actuals from 23-24, I would be hesitant to do that because I would view that, and I think the commission would potentially view that as being fiscally irresponsible. Third thing is it affects those not only in the identified employee group, in this case instructional assistants, but if you look at the pay scales and how they're situated, directly above them are data clerks and directly above them are secretaries. So if you were to give the instructional assistants a 10%, that necessitates moving at least 2 other groups up because of the level of schooling and training that are required by the different pay scales and job descriptions we have set forth. So there are a lot of things to consider when we look at those types of things. I'm not saying it's a bad idea by any means, and I support. We have done more in the last 4 years to ensure that our instructional assistants are with students than ever before in Hopkins County. I hate to say it, but prior to that, there were a lot of instructional assistants that ran copies, that graded papers. Now I can honestly tell you and look everybody in the eye that they are directly working with students. So I do support that, and I do hear Ms. Warlova's comment about the importance of their work with children. We have more than most counties of our system because we prioritize them. We think that they are important. Therefore, we have a lot more than comparable systems. A lot of systems have instructional assistants just on the special ed side of the fence. They don't utilize general ed instructional assistants unless there's a unique need there. We have prioritized maintaining those and keeping those. It's hard because we can't afford to pay what others do around us, but we do value them and we see them as integral in moving students forward.
Thank you for that. But we will tackle that in the upcoming months, because this budget process and everything is, so we will get that.